Thank you for joining me. Welcome to this winter solstice rune reading. This time I decided to select just one rune, and following my usual method, I selected with my eyes shut and then I cast the rune. The rune that came out is known as Wraith or Rado. It's the wheel. It's about kind of riding forwards through life. When it's in the upright position, it looks like an angular letter R, but reversed directly, it's an upside down angular letter R, and there are also rightwards and leftwards orientations that I work with, but I won't go into those today. This is perfect in a way for the winter solstice, because it does indeed speak of the darkness before the dawn, which fits very well, doesn't it? But to come back to this rune and the way I work with it in a general reading, I think of it as working with general trends, it representing general trends. And we know that trends are different in different countries, but this year there has been very much a trend of problems arising in all different parts of the globe, and rather than a lot of them being fixed, the general pattern has been to apply a sticking plaster or a succession of sticking plasters, and we're kind of then aware of all these situations that, yes, we know about them, but we also know that what has been done with a lot of them is not fixing them. And sometimes, of course, it's a lack of knowing what to do. Sometimes it's not the right time, but often it's simply that the people that could influence things perhaps don't want to recognize the magnitude of the task, that the task in a way requires getting rid of something that is broken and replacing it with something that works better. And I think how we can see this with many systems, and that's not to say that all systems should be dispensed with or anything like that. I'm not somebody that has that opinion at all, but this rune is pointing to the way there has to be a little bit of a delay before solutions can be clearly seen and clearly put into operation. And for that to happen, there has to be a full recognition. So what sort of delay are we talking about? Normally with Wraith or Rado, it doesn't show up unless the changes are going to start to manifest within the next 3 to 4 months, often within a shorter time than that. So by the time we are into the lighter time of the year, the changes that have been brewing beneath the surface, in the same way that nature has been gathering her power beneath the surface in the northern hemisphere, should start to show up more and more. And the trend that this will represent is that rather than there being a general tendency for the number of things that haven't been fixed in a satisfactory way to be increasing all the time, we should start to see an increase in the number of problem situations for which there are solutions that can clearly be seen and that are being worked towards. Sometimes it can be a battle to get those solutions or ideas for them recognized by the powers that be. But this represents a trend that, whilst it doesn't take away the sense of upheaval that we've had in 2022, it does indicate that there will be more upheavals that we can see as worthwhile, as productive, as bringers of change where change is necessary. And of course, that doesn't always mean that we're not going to get new situations, because often there is a reaction and action syndrome. But this rune again bodes well, because it does indicate that in general solutions are much more likely to be found. There's a greater will to work towards change, even when sometimes that change is more radical than we'd at first hoped, because it's part of human nature, I suppose, and certainly the nature of systems, that they tend to cling on and battle for survival and keep going in the form that they are without radical change. When sometimes radical change is necessary, it is a bit like somebody with a worn out knee joint. They can keep going with physiotherapy and it helps a lot. And sometimes they can postpone an operation quite a long time that way. But to really fix what is wrong in that knee or the wear and tear, they really do need either a knee replacement or, some kind of operation to sort things out for the longer term. And that's how I'm seeing Wraith or Rado operating in life. So immediately with the winter solstice, whilst there is change brewing beneath the surface, and this rune also encourages creative ideas, creative thoughts, provided these are focused on moving forwards. If they're focused on holding things the same, they tend not to be productive under this influence. But when change is actively being sought and there's a willingness to be open, this rune is a very supportive companion to have. And we don't have to wait too long before we receive the full influence of the Wraith or Rado, the wheel in its positive position. And this is like the knight on horseback riding forwards. It's the helpfulness. But we have to remember also that we have the equivalent of that knight on horseback riding that horse within us. And it is up to us to discover that, not just the ideas, but the inner momentum that will help to carry those ideas forwards, that will help to make them part of life, that will help some of those ideas to generate their own field of influence that gathers to itself a greater momentum and becomes a force to be reckoned with, that can express itself in bringing solutions that act for the benefit of a lot of people. And I'm seeing this being an increasing trend that is likely to make 2023 much more a year where we can say there is some positive progress, than the sense in a way almost, we can't call it standstill because there's been a lot that has happened, but it has been standstill much of the time when it comes to finding change, to bringing in something better, because there has been too much of a tendency to just look at what we can do to fix each individual thing. And we have to do that. It's, within our nature to do that. But within that, there is also an unwillingness to see readily when something more is needed. And I'm seeing 2023 as bringing a year that delivers more points of recognition when it comes to considering what is needed. And of course, all of that then takes time, but it is a positive turning point that I am feeling with this. So I wish you a very happy winter solstice, Yuletide, or Christmas, or whichever winter celebration is the one that is closest to your heart, and a happy 2023. Thank you for joining me. I do offer personal readings if you are interested, and you can find the details at my website, K Cook Spirit Wings, or indeed on my Facebook page. Thank you for joining me.